Sadaşivasamarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Bhadram Karnebhih. Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Stirairangaihi Tushtuvagam Swastanovihi Yashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedah Swasti na Starsho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Bruhaspatir Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om. Okay. In the last class, I think we have come up to verse 13. 13 we have read actually. Yeah, we are doing Prashnopanishad. Yeah. I will do a quick summary at the end of this because we are reaching the end of this chapter anyway. Yeah. So
that's fire to be around.
Oh, okay. Hari Om. Please come. Please come. No, it's okay. They have the one more chair is there. One chair is here. Awesome.
That's okay.
Go. So what we are seeing is Prashnopanishad. Yeah. Do we want to close the properly, please? So Prashnopanishad, we have come up to the first question, which was answered by Rishi Pippalada. So Prashnopanishad goes this way, that there are 6 students who have come to a Rishi called Pippalada. And that particular Rishi asked them to wait for 1 year before he will answer any questions. And in that 1 year, you live the life here doing brahmacharya, tapas, etc., etc. He has given certain instructions and asked them to wait. And he said, after that, if you can ask your questions, and in case I know the answer, I will definitely tell you. That's what was the condition that he has put across. So it doesn't mean that he doesn't know or he is doubtful whether he can answer all the questions. Main idea is to say the humility that even a rishis will have in this particular topic and subject. Humility is the main important thing which he is teaching the students, really speaking. So after 1 year was over, there is not much told about how they spend their life. Obviously, they have done exactly what the rishi asked them to do, because then he said, now you can ask your questions. It appears like that. It doesn't say all that, but that's what it comes to. Then the all that was covered in the word ataha. Ataha means after that. Means what afterwards? Afterwards, rishi, whatever he has told, everybody has done. And the first student was given permission to ask the question. Yeah. So that particular person has asked that particular question. And in that, he has asked as to where from all these creatures have come about. That was the question that came about. So we are on verse 13 now in terms of this. I will give a summary after completion of next 2 verses, because anyway we are ending the chapter here. As to what all things he has told, I will give a quick summary anyway. Yeah. So in the last class, what we have seen is that the Rishi talked about Samvatsara. Means Rishi has talked about that Prajapati. Prajapati is the same Brahman when he gets the desire to get the creation done. He will then create it, he says, Rishi here puts across, as he has created Mithunam. What is that Mithunam pair? Is Prana and Rai. He has asked them to start with that. And the same Prana and Rai Prana is, you can roughly translate it to energy, and Rai roughly translate it to either matter, or in this particular case, it also talks about Annam. Annam is eatable. What is eaten is the Annam. So matter or Annam, one of them you can translate this into. So when matter becomes Annam, Prana becomes the eater. So Atra and Annam is the translation that is given by many masters for these two aspects as well. So Prana and Rai are Atra and Annam, eater and the eaten. Eater means what? Not physically eating. For example, if sound comes, the ear becomes the eater for the sound object. When some form comes in between, the eye becomes the eater of the form, like that. Yeah. So every sense object becomes the eaten. Every sense becomes the eater, so to say. You can take it that way. So Atra and Annam. That way you can actually look at it. So overall, we said this prana can be compared to Surya. Shastra says here, the Upanishad is telling that that particular thing can be compared to Surya Bhagwan, with so many rays, etc. And the matter, this one can be compared to moon, Chandra. And when we talked about, he then talks about that Surya and Chandra are nothing but the Prajapati. He manifested into this sun and moon. And based on sun and moon, you have the time aspect that is coming into the picture. It is not that the time is created by sun. Remember that. He is not talking about sun, the time getting created by the sun and moon. It only says that the time can be now calculated based on the rhythmic movement of the sun and the moon and the earth associated with that. All three put together, there is a rhythm that follows, a cyclic fashion that follows, which allows you to measure the time. How do we measure the time? Most simple one is the Samvatsara. Samvatsara is a year. So here he says this can be compared to Dakshinayana and Uttarayana. We have seen that before. And Masa is split into the two fortnights, Krishna Paksha and Shukla Paksha. Similarly, the day can be split into day and night. One day can be split into the day and night. So again, the same prana and rai. The two aspects he is bringing out using the time factor associated with this. Basically, that's what we have seen till now. And ahoratra way is the day and night aspects which are there. And the day represents the prana, night represents the rai. Prana and rai. Ignorance. We can say the night represents ignorance, day represents the knowledge. So the prana can be compared to a knowledge, and the night can be compared to ignorance, rai, associated. It is ignorance, you can say, or inert aspects that are there. And this one talks about ahoratra vai prajapati. That's what it is. Sahasrareva pranaha and ratireva raihi. Ratrieva raihi. And he talks about that whoever, see, the question we must remember as to how this praja has come about. That's what is the essential that we are talking about. When the praja is coming about, we have to talk about the copulation or the rati activity that people have to do for praja to be born. Really speaking, that's what it talks about. But here it talks about that whoever does that thing in the daytime, it says that such people praskandante, they dissipate the energy aspect associated with that. Those who do that in the night is equivalent to doing as brahmacharya. Something like that is the this one given in many texts as such. And I did mention that I have a different take on that. I mentioned that in the last class as well. To say that the day represents the knowledge and night represents the ignorance associated with that. And the word ratya, although normally translated as this activity, but meaning can be extended to any desire. Really speaking, that is the, maybe if we have a way of looking at it, to say that to represent all the senses, we talk about one sense, to say eye, for example. because eye is the most important sense in terms of the five senses that people have. If any Shastra talks about eye, normally they are talking about all the five senses. Yeah, that is how normally the Shastras are put up. So here we are telling that although Shankaracharya has given only this particular Ratya is equal to sexual activity, not necessary. All desire prompted activities can be Rati. Rati represents the joy one gets by going through a desire oriented activity. So any desire oriented action will provide a joy associated when the result comes. And that joy is Rati. So Ratya is associated with everything. So whether we take of any sense objects, if we are doing it with a desire oriented or desire prompted action that once we are taking, all that can be associated with this. Then why we are talking about that if it is done in the night, it is equivalent to brahmacharya. So the idea essentially what we are talking about is that when we talk about Rai and Prana associated with that, Prana is the knowledge, Rai is the ignorance aspect that we are talking about. Yeah. And those people who do activities based on the desire, the previous verse said, such people actually go to Chandraloka. And that Chandraloka, they stay there for till that punya aspect is over. And those are the people who actually come back and take birth again. So what we are looking at is, here the Upanishad is talking about those activities or those people who actually believe in Vedas and follow Vedas to start with. Why I'm telling is previously the verse has already told, those people who go to Chandraloka, they do the activities that are called as Ishtam and Purtam. It means that. What is this Ishtam and Purtam? Ishtam is Ishti. Ishti, Putra Kameshti, like that. There are so many this ones that people do yagas and yajnas. So Ishti is those people who follow what Vedas are telling you, but Karma Marga. So you do yaga, you do yajna, you do all this associated with whatever is enjoined by the Shastras becomes Ishtam. What is Purtam? Yeah, it is not in line with exactly what the Karmakanda is telling in terms of Vedas, but it is slightly good activities people can choose to do. Like you construct a temple. It is for everybody they can come and go. You are spending, you have money, you are doing that activity. Or you do Annadana. Every day or every Sunday, every Monday, you do Annadana in the temple because you have money. So those such activities, or you put a road, for example, all these becomes the Purtam activities. So both are good, but they are desire prompted. You may think that he doesn't have anything he is doing for the society. No, he is looking for name, fame at the background. Yeah. So the moment you have that desire for any subtle aspect as well, it becomes part of the Mithya Prapancha. So it becomes part of the Rai activity or the material activity. Such are the people who go to Chandraloka and who will come back. So such people, it's okay to have desire, and you have this one. So in the night, when you do such activities, desire prompted activities, night means what? You are in the desire prompted activities, but if you follow Ishtam and Purtam, such people is equivalent to Brahmacharya. Because this entire creation is part of Ishvara's creation. So it is Brahmacharya when we talk about if you are doing activities Ishtam and Purtam. Whereas then what it says, then when you do in the mornings, it is equivalent to Praskandanti. It is going away when we talk about. So this Praskandanti aspect, when it comes, what it says is, suppose your activity is not related to desire prompted act. You are thinking you are actually following the Tapa, Brahmacharya, Vidya, etc. Means if you are following a Jnana Marga associated with that, if you bring in at that time Ratya means desire. If you do that, your activity is as Praskandanti. It is actually going away. So when you follow Jnana Marga, don't bring desire into this. You are wasting your time. But if you are following only the desire oriented, but follow the Ishtam and Purtam Marga, then it is equivalent to brahmacharya. That is how I think this verse must be understood.
Shankarji, Ishtam and Purtam, are they, can you say they would eventually be the same? Because the results might be a little bit different, but yet you'll be coming back for your
Correct.
karma. You've done it. Karma, so
It is like this. It is like this. Yeah. If suppose you are doing Purtam Marga, means it is not Vedic injunction that you are following in terms of conducting yajnas, yagas, etc., but you are doing good for the society in general. You are earning punya. So such people also will come back. But the question is, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita talks about that what will happen to those people who are on this path but not yet reached the end. So Krishna says, don't worry, you will come back. It is not gone. You will pick up those threads from where you are living. So if you are in Vedic Marga, for example, Vedic Marga is set up in such a way that your karma will slowly turn into a karma without, where you are offering the karma to the Bhagavan. You are slowly, the desire prompted raga and dvesha will slowly go away by following the ishtam. Purtam, not necessary. Purtam, you still have that this one in terms of I require this name and fame. So when I'll put for example, I will put a particular road, I will put the name Kapur Marg. So that thing is not gone. You still have that. You are doing good because you have that particular this one, you have this. But the Kapur Marg will not go. Or for example, Krishna Deva Raya constructed a huge temple. Many temples he has done. There will be a plant, a rock, this one, which talks about such and such a huge king has constructed this particular this one. So it's not gone, really speaking. But we can't generalize that. Some people may do that and others may put his name because they revert to that particular king he's constructed. He himself might not even bother. He allotted funds and he moved away. Others do actually. So king may be a realized person. So these things are very, very difficult to say whether it is Ishtam or Purtam. But ultimately, Chitragupta will know.
Yeah,
one who is noting down will know.
It's your attitude inside. That's
Correct.
all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't worry about what others may look at. What's what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. So next verse was 14th verse, where did we read 14th? I don't know.
Yeah, we did.
Annam. Then
we
we will
did
Annam
14th, yeah.
14th also we have completed. So here Annam Vai Prajapati. So here he talks about that Annam is the one, is Prajapati himself. See, right now what is happening is, till now what has happened, what we have seen, although he says that Prajapati created Prana and Rai, Prana and Rai in turn created Surya Chandra. Surya Chandra in turn created Vaishwanara. Vaishwanara is the combined jivas put together is Vaishwanara. So essentially the entire the awareness aspect or consciousness aspect of the all jivas put together becomes Vaishwanara. He says this Vaishwanara is the one who wakes up in every person. Means what? When we get up in the morning, normally Vaishwanara, what we talk about is it is equivalent to your hunger. So everybody, when we get up, there is Vaishwanara wakes up in the body in terms of tapaha, in terms of tapa, in terms of heat. So heat should be satisfied. It should be quenched. So you require to put some food in that. So ultimately, it's talking about that such a Vaishwanara wakes up everybody. This is the general meaning which is there. But Vaishwanara, in turn, what we are talking about is whenever we say that jivas are born, and the question of that particular student was how these creatures are born about. Means what? These creatures are born means my body is born. I am seeing I am born to such and such a parents, and this body is me. How so many bodies are born is the question. So the Rishi is now taking one step ahead in terms of telling that, actually speaking, body which is born is not you. It is the prana aspect. What you are seeing being born is only Rai aspect. So he is taking one step ahead and says, Vaishwanara, once he says, that all of us is one. In terms of who we are, all of us put together is Vaishvanara. Same Vaishvanara is there inside everyone. But in order to understand, for a particular person to understand at an individual Jiva level, they say that Vaishvanara is inside you. Really speaking, that Vaishvanara is you. So that is what Rishi is trying to say, that same Vaishvanara is in every one of you, or he rises in you. But in order for us to overcome this individuality, people say that Vaishvanara inside, you do yajna. How do you do yajna to Vaishvanara? You say whatever you put in your mouth for satisfying that Vaishvanara becomes a yaga. It becomes a, whatever prasad, you have to give that. And that particular thing is offered as a yajna, Vaishvanara. It is offered to Vaishvanara. So that is how normally we see it is being told. But really speaking, Rishi is taking this one step above. He is telling that there is nothing like a particular body being born. You must not take that is the particular person that is getting born. It is Vaishvanara who is everywhere, and body is only a instrument that is coming out for that Vaishvanara to act, or that prana to act. So here again, everything that is created or manifested is the right word, really speaking, is nothing but Prajapati. That is how it is being shown. Same Prajapati became Prana and Rai. How we know? Because immediately afterwards, in the next verse, he says everything can be looked at as Rai. Everything can be looked at as Prana. Means what? There are two things that are manifested, but they are one and the same. Same Prajapati manifests as Prana and Rai. Same Prajapati through this manifests as sun and the moon and earth, and same Prajapati manifests as the time. So he is actually telling that there is no creation to start with. Literally speaking, that is what is being told. Although you are thinking that there are so many divisions that are getting born, really speaking, same Prajapati is appearing as all this. That is what he is actually till now he is trying to put across. So Annam by Prajapati. He says the same Annam is Prajapati now. So he has gone everything, and one more thing he has used in between, I will come later. But Prajapati, Annam by Prajapati. And this Prajapati is the one, Prajapati, he becomes the Retas. Retas is the fluids in man and woman, and they become, that is the reason why creatures are produced. So finally, Rishi is come down to the level of the student, and he says, same Prajapati creates Annam, and that Annam, when eaten by the people, allows them to create the physical body. That is how but really speaking, again, this is how the regular commentary is given. But again, we can expand this a bit more. Annam does not necessarily mean only the food that we are eating, rice we are eating, or barley we are eating, or dosha idli we are eating, not that one. Really speaking, it goes into all sense objects are Annam, as I mentioned. And all senses are the eaters of associated. So Prajapati becomes all the sense objects. And when we talk about Retas, again, the food eaten by the Jiva, when we talk about, every sense object becomes a food eaten by the eater, so to say. Yeah? And those who focus on getting these sense objects from outside are the people who are getting born again and again. What he's trying to say is there are two paths. So these two paths, when Samvatsara was given, he has given that as Dakshinayana and Uttarayana. We have gone through that before. Dakshinayana starts somewhere in January 15th as per our calendar, but now it has shifted to December 21st or so. Winter and summer and winter solstice. That is where the Uttarayana and Dakshinayana starts. Means the Ayana is the journey. Dakshinayana is movement of the sun towards the southern side. And Uttarayana is from south to the north. Basically, when you, if suppose you get up every day morning to see the sunrise, And you will see that it doesn't always rise at the true east. It starts from the south, it goes to the north, and it comes back to the south. Every day, if you see, sun doesn't rise exactly to east. Yeah, it moves. And that is what we are talking about, Dakshinayana Uttarayana. If you don't know, that is what precisely is Dakshinayana Uttarayana. So this particular thing, true east, will come only when the equinox thing comes. Solstice is the one when it reaches the end of this. So when we talk about Dakshinayana and Uttarayana in this particular thing, it talks about two paths that a person can take. Dakshinayana represents the Karma Marga, Uttarayana represents the Jnana Marga. Okay? We have gone through this in the last few of this month, basically. So Prajapati manifests as Prana and Rai. They in turn manifest as sun and the moon, and hence become the time, or it allows you to measure the time, and they in turn produce the rain, and the rain in turn produce the food. Food, when consumed by the Prajapati for the Jiva, they in turn will allow the Jivas to create the creatures. And means what? Essentially what is telling, same Prajapati is becoming the physical body that is getting created, whereas the real me is not this physical body, but it is the prana, or the energy aspect, which is, or awareness, consciousness aspect, which is there in every one of us. That is how the Rishi has brought about the whole question is being answered in that way. Yeah. So verse 15, yeah. Tadjeha vai tat prajapati vratam charanti te mithunam utpadayante tesham evaisha brahmaloko yesham tapo brahmacharyam yeshu satyam pratishtitam. So here Swamiji's commentary talks about is thus, therefore, those who observe this rule of Prajapati produce a pair. Mithunam utpadayante. Utpadam means producing. Mithunam we have already seen is the pair. Mithunam utpad. For them alone is the Brahmaloka, who have penance and celibacy, and in whom the truth abides. Now again, the Shankara defines this Mithunam pair that talks about as one son and a daughter. So those who follow Prajapati Vratam. Now we don't know what exactly is this Prajapati Vratam. Those who follow Prajapati Vratam will produce a pair of son and daughter. Yeah? And for them alone is Brahmaloka. So whoever is following this Prajapati Vratam, who produces one son and one daughter, are the only ones eligible for this Brahmaloka. And those who have penance and celibacy, and in whom truth abides. So there is a condition. Not only you follow Prajapati Vratam, but follow Brahma, Tapas and Satyam. Now, new word Satyam is introduced here. So Shankara says this Prajapati Vratam, he defines it as Rutukala Gamanam. What is this Rutukala Gamanam? Means those people who follow the time properly and do those activities that are supposed to be done as per the time. Such people will produce a son and daughter. This is how Shankaracharya explains this. Yeah. So Prajapati Vratam and extend means in short what he is telling is not only date, because in the previous verse that daytime those who indulge in that activity will praskandante, they waste their energy. If you are indulging in that activity in the night, you are equivalent to brahmacharya, etc. we're talking about. But here he is extending that to say that that is just a telling. It is Rutukala Gamana, means wherever it is not correct for you to indulge in that activities, don't indulge. In addition, if you follow Tapa, Brahmacharya and Satyam. Now, Satyam normally, he says, should be done at 3 levels. You may think something, you may tell something, you may act something. Satyam is those people who there is no conflict between these three. Only those people doing real Satyam. So if you follow that, so Manasa, Vacha, Karma. At three levels, if you are following, there is no conflict between what you are thinking, what you are telling, what you are doing. You are following the path of Satyam. Very, very difficult thing to do. And in general, people find it very difficult to do this, especially when it comes to close associates, close friends, close relatives. You cannot say something, you are seeing something wrong, but you cannot say that so easily. So people say that it's very difficult, and those who follow it is equivalent to tapa. People are doing tapaha is normally, I think I gave this definition before. Mahabharata gives a very good definition of tapa, bhoga sankocha. Whatever you think you are enjoying, if you reduce that, that becomes tapa for you. So individually, each one of us should choose that tapa which is suitable to you. Yeah. So this tapaha, when we talk about, is bhoga sankocha. When we reduce the bhoga or enjoyment aspect associated with the world. So if suppose I'm a very ardent follower of Tyagaraja Kirtanas, and I spend 16 hours a day only listening to that. Then from next tomorrow, you do 4 hours, becomes tapa for you because you're so much used to that habit. We are not talking of good and bad here. Tapa can be anything. What you are enjoying, you reduce so that you internalize the vision. Instead of 8 hours you are doing, if you are doing 4 hours of the same activity, 4 hours you internalize that vision to look at yourself as to who am I. So tapa helps in terms of reducing your bhoga. Your enjoyment with outside world, good, bad, doesn't matter. Everybody can go through tapa. Not that he is a bad person, he has to do tapa. I'm a good fellow, so I don't require tapa. No, nothing like that. Including, I tell you, if you are enjoying reading Upanishads, for example, if you are so much addicted that you depend for your happiness only this reading, you have to reduce that also. Reduce the thoughts, reduce the activities in terms of any enjoyment becomes tapa. Tapa, brahmacharya. Brahmacharya normally is translated as celibacy. Really, that is not the correct meaning. The brahmacharya means you charati within Brahman. Means you have to go, every aspect you bring Brahman. Every aspect that you are doing, you bring Brahman into that particular respect. Offer everything you are doing to the Brahman. So that becomes brahmacharya. So that brahmacharya, tapa and satyam. These three, if you are doing along with Prajapati Vratam, the Brahmaloka is established. But what Shankaracharya takes objection to this is, those who, this obviously is for samsaris, people who are in samsara, people who are married, those only people who are producing. Yeah. So he says, for such people, it is not that this Brahmaloka is not the Surya Brahmaloka. He defines this as Chandra Brahma. Means we have seen Dakshinayana Uttarayana. That's why I try to explain that Dakshinayana Uttarayana is when you follow the Ishtam and Purtam, you go to Chandraloka, and those are the people who are born. Then what about that karma? Those people who do karma without even going through Ishtam Purtam and do all act, this doesn't touch them at all. Like even our Bhagavad Gita, he generally defines as those people who are towards Ishvara and those who don't believe in Ishvara. He cuts them, and then he completely drops these people who doesn't believe in Ishvara, because they don't need to talk about them. Anyway, they will come back. But even within those people who are supposed to be religious, spiritual, these people who do Ishtam and Purtam will come telling exactly that particular this one. You are lucky to think that way. Okay. God's grace is there, you are here. Yeah. So what our normal Shastra says, don't depend on this particular thing, thinking that in this particular I am doing Ishtam and Purtam, so I will come back into Manushaloka. Not necessary. Because what Prarabdha Karma will kick in the next this one, because you have Sanchita, huge bag is there. Which one will kick in, we don't know. So don't wait for it, start now. and you are doing Ishtam, Bhagavan says that, yeah, you will come back into Manushya Loka. Not only you will come back, but you will pick up where you have leaving this. Yeah? But Purtam, we don't know. But you will come back. That is for sure. Yeah? That is what it is telling. Yeah. So here,
So creation is Prajapati, it himself is creation. Is you
Correct.
can say that?
correct.
Yeah.
And
So
Prajapati is
so
not-
why Prajapati wants to know Prajapati?
Huh?
So in all creation, we want to know the
Correct,
Brahma.
Brahman.
So
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
Prajapati wants to know Prajapati?
Because you are not knowing that you are Prajapati.
Yes.
Once you know you are Prajapati, you will not even ask that question. That Prajapati is not, the question is not from Prajapati. It is from the Jiva. Jiva, there is a ignorance associated with that. I don't know. I am thinking that this body is me.
So actually my question is, who put avidya in the jiva?
If you really take it that way, there is no Jiva. If there is Jiva, if you are thinking, then that particular Jiva is coming, that's all. It is like a person going and standing in a mirror's room. 1,000 mirrors, Bruce Lee film is there. He goes there everywhere, the same Bruce Lee. Everywhere. Really speaking, is he created? Because I can see, I can experience the person is there. And depending upon the mirror, the person is, one Bruce Lee is very thin, other Bruce Lee is very tall, other is very fair, others is very dark, because depending upon the surface of this and the type of mirror.
So can you say that then if the Bruce Lee is only one, he is mirrored in the different thing. So there is no way someone will go to the moon or somewhere, because it is already the Brahman. They don't have to.
The idea is that, yeah. Suppose you are telling, depending upon one particular type of mirror, you will get a type of, a specific type of image that is coming in that. What I want to say is, depending upon the karmas that particular person is doing, there is a associated logic with this entire creation. It cannot be other than that. So those people who do certain things, there is a logic associated with this, even with mithya. This is all mithya only, but there is a logic associated with the mithya. Example, we may say that a rope becomes a snake, for example, is a very common, this one. Really speaking, whether the snake is created or not, we don't know. But depending upon the type of the rope, the type of snake is already defined. So you have associated the same characteristics of the substratum in the created image that is coming through. Since how we are telling that the Brahman is of Satyam Jnanam Anantam or Satchit Ananta, how we are telling that? Because we are seeing that in the creation. In the creation, you are finding them, and that is the reason why we are telling that that particular creator must be of this specific characteristics. Otherwise, there is no characters in Brahman as what we are talking about. So if the rope is coiled, snake appears coiled. If the rope is thick, snake appears thick. So there are certain qualities that are being superimposed onto the created aspects. Because there is the creation, which is creator, is very, very logical. The creation appears to be logical. Think about it. Maybe see, always this is a problem. Actually everything is Advaita. Advaita, there is no second at all. So the moment we say there is no second, why Prajapati is asking Prajapati question don't come at all. Because Prajapati cannot ask Prajapati, because they are both the same. But there is a division which is coming across. And how does it come? People say there is a ignorance associated with that. That is the reason why it is coming.
Actually, my question was, if Prajapati has created the creation, so is it likely he put the ignorance part as well? Who put that, and who is going to take away?
Ignorance comes from your karma, whatever you did in the past or not. I don't know.
No, ignorance is there always. It is
Yeah,
the
but you still
our
believe that
Gurudev
ignorance-
says ignorance is the original capital. You
Yeah, but
came
again,
with.
ignorance, for example, like I feel I was quite ignorant till I started reading all these things.
Ah,
And then that has opened up my mind a little bit. But till then I was, but where did that ignorance come from? How come there are other people who are much literate in a way, spiritually than me? So they must have come from with them.
It's the
from-
body
and-
part, because when we associate ourselves all the time with body,
Hmm.
then I think a little bit part of that one would also, because we forget that we are Brahman, we all, something happens.
Can we
something
think
I
like
was
this?
just saying
If
the same thing.
Prajapati even thought about creating, that thought itself is the ignorance. I don't know how to put that.
yeah. See, there are two ignorances that are there. So you should not get confused with your ignorance about the topics outside,
Yeah.
including Shastras. That is completely different ignorance that we are talking about. This ignorance can be removed by exposure, but education, but training.
Yes.
Yeah, you can get exposed to a particular knowledge associated with sciences, for example, or created the objects outside. You can learn. Now that ignorance is different. This is called ignorance. Actually, it's called avidya. Avidya is slightly different concept altogether, where I am not even looking at what is my true nature. That is the avidya we are talking about. Yeah, that is when it talks about whether it is at that particular level where Prajapati himself has created, is the word that he has used. Shastras talk about telling that this particular avidya at that level of true nature, recognizing my true nature, is avidya that we are talking about, is at a very high level, and at a totality level, it is called actually Maya. Maybe if I bring in the term Maya instead of avidya, you will have a different thought process, because Maya has got a different connotation for all of us. Maya at a totality level, parts form of the Brahman. In fact, Shastras talk about, Maya is 25% of Brahman. Now questions will come, oh, what is this 25% which is coming in? Really speaking, if the whole mirror is there, for example, and 25% is, there is a problem with that mirror. It's not, reflection is not coming properly. It is part of the mirror, so to say, but that particular thing itself, actually your entire mithyatvam starts with Maya. Maya is also not true, but it remains. Even when the entire creation is withdrawn, that Maya and Ishvara, Maya and Brahman are the aspects which will continue to stay. Two aspects will continue to stay. This comes from, again, Shankaracharya has given another text, Prapanchasara or something. So in that he describes, for people who are who want to know about this. But ultimately what he says, again, let me go back to Advaita Vedanta, talks about three aspects how we normally can see Brahman, or the creation itself. When we talk about creation, how it came about, etc. One is called Srishti Drishtivada. That says that Srishti must be there for Drishti to see. Means Rai must be there for Prana to see. See means experience. Seeing is experiencing, really speaking. So every one of us in Srishti Drishtivada. Means there is a Srishti. When I'm born, did I create the earth? Did I create my parents? Did I create everybody whom I saw who were coming and pinching me? No. They were all there. Whole thing is there. All five elements are there. Water is there. Air is there. Everything given free by the Lord. Of course, government charge is different, but everything is given free to me. All Srishti is there. I am the Drishti, because I am the conscious entity who came into this prapancha. Being told this prapancha is not true, I am not true, and there is one Advaita. So when we talk about, so I need to first break this particular aspect of that. What is this particular thing doing? Exactly the same. When say Prajapati became in this particular form, he is the one who came about. He is the Surya, he is the Chandra. Because for a particular person who came into this being, all this appears to be very, very huge, very big. Even to consider, when you put telescope and see in light years and other stuff, with the light it travels such as a huge speed, it takes 8 minutes, means, oh my God, how much distance it is. I can't even imagine. So all this is already there and I am coming into it. So Srishti Drishtivad. So you need to now break this individuality and take your thinking to a higher level. When you do what it says, that it becomes Drishti Srishtivad. When you are into this Advaita Vedanta sadhana, etc., you are supposed to break this Srishti Drishtivada thing and say, Srishti must be there before Srishti can be recognized. Suppose there is no conscious entity. One stock example, what they say is, if suppose there is a huge Kikaranyam, means it is a forest which is there, hundreds of kilometers. In between the center, there is nothing there, no tiger, no this much, everything is there. One tree fell down, lightning struck, and one tree fell down. Did anybody hear? Did it produce a sound? Did it produce a sound? Any answer? It fell down. Did it produce a sound? It lightning struck and it fell, so it must have produced a sound. But then what we say is, if suppose, what is actually sound? Sound is just a vibration which comes through. It doesn't sound. It becomes sounds only when my ear is there. If suppose the same thing, for example, it's very clear. If suppose a person, totally deaf person is nearby, and the same thing happened, and he is in this one, is sound there? So where is the sound getting created? A beautiful rainbow has come at this one, after this one rain, yeah? But if nobody is there, is rainbow really created? Is it created in my eye, which then went into my mind and the mind is creating the rainbow, or really rainbow is there? Drishti Srishtivada means to say that I am the one who is giving reality to this Srishti. And who is that I who is giving? Is my eye giving? No. Is my ear giving, my mouth giving, my skin giving? Which is giving reality to this entire this one? What is that prapancha that I am telling is created? Everything is created in my mind. If I close my eyes, there is no eye. No prapancha of name and form. If I close my ears, no prapancha of my sound. Forget about closing. What science is telling is the range that you can hear is only very limited range. Dog can hear much better than you. His prapancha is much, much better than your prapancha, because he can experience much better prapancha what God has created. So are you the best or he is the best? So all this, when we talk about, we move to something called as Drishti Srishtivada. And once with Drishti Srishtivada comes in to say that it is this awareness principle which is giving reality to this entire so-called this one. And then we move to something what Shankara says with Samadhi experience, etc., is that called Ajativada. Means really speaking, nothing is created. There is no Srishti, no Drishti. Everything is Prana and Rai. Everything is created by that Prajapati. But as long as you are in Srishti Drishtivada, these questions will keep on coming. Why Prajapati is asking? Unfortunately, what happens in this particular text is, we talk about Advaita, but we teach it in Dvaita. Teaching can never be in Advaita. Mauna Vyaksha Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam. The famous Dakshinamati Sutram by Shankaracharya. Mauna. That is the only thing which can teach exactly what Advaita is. Any word that you bring out, Dvaita is already there. Teaching is in Dvaita, the subject is Advaita. Trouble with understanding. Very difficult, very subtle. I think all of us in the same state. What we need to do is, what Shastras are clearly telling is, it is experienceable. You can experience this by following the path of Tapa Brahmacharya, Satyam, Vidyaya. But all this is part of Mithya Prapancha. Remember that. Our Shastras very clearly say Shastra itself is Mithya. We may give that reverence to it in terms of it being knowledge that is coming through. So my ajnanam is getting removed. Knowledge itself is mithya. So it is like a famous example, what in sports they say, no, that pole vault. So all this, what we are doing of sadhana or this one is like a pole vault. You have that big pole to go to the top, but unless you leave this pole, you will not cross. So you require, all this is the pole to take you to a spot, but you require to drop it ultimately. I don't know whether that makes sense, but anyway. Okay, so this we are talking about Prajapati Vratam. Yeah. So in this Prajapati Vratam Charanti, what Shankaracharya told, I already mentioned that Rutukala Gamanam is the term that he has used in terms of this, and whoever follows this Prajapati Vratam, Mithunam Utpadaya. But as I mentioned, I don't really limit myself to understanding this Prajapati Vratam as this only, as explained by here. We can extend it to a bigger one, a higher one in terms of, because Mithunam already is told is prana and dry, means, and that prana and dry is Dakshinayana Uttarayana. So those people who are following this particular verse of Prajapati Vratam means those who are following either Ishtam Purtam or your Tapa Brahmacharya route associated with that, Dakshinayana Uttarayana, those are the people who will go to Brahmaloka. But then again, that Brahmaloka can be Surya Brahmaloka and Chandra Brahmaloka. As Shankaracharya has mentioned, in this particular case, he says, as if you are in the family atmosphere and environment, it appears you will only go to Chandra Brahmaloka, as per this one. But what we are telling is, no, not necessary. Sri Krishna was a big, he has got 8 wives and 100 samsaras, really speaking. But nobody can beat him in terms of the knowledge that he is or the jnani that he is, really speaking. So it doesn't matter whether you are a sannyasi or a grihastha. It doesn't matter what it is. You have 2 paths. That is what Mithuna Utpadayanta. You can follow this route or those people who follow this, those people who follow this, for Surya Brahmaloka, there is no return. It says that it will not come back. You will remain there. You can take it that way. Okay. 16th, yeah. Teshamasau Virajo Brahmaloko na Yeshu Jihman Anrutam na Maya Cheti. So here it says that because the previous one is told as Chandra Brahmaloka and Mithunam that we are talking about, those people who follow the Prajapati Vratam with that, etc., will go to Chandra Brahmaloka is defined by him. So here, Gurudev says, the pure Brahmaloka, now he is talking about Surya Brahmaloka in terms of what we have seen before, belongs to them only in whom there is no deceit, falsehood, dissimulation. So here, Anrutam means falsehood. Yeah. Anrutam means falsehood, correct? Not Maya. Maya, you don't take Maya is that Brahman and Maya aspects. Gail, it is being, Gurudev talks about as Gail. Cha iti, thus. So in whom you have falsehood and Maya, such people will not go to Brahmaloka. And here we are talking about pure Brahmaloka. So he says the pure Brahmaloka belongs to them only in whom there is no deceit, falsehood, or dissimulation. So the idea previously was, he was talking about the qualities one must have or the path one must take for you to reach that Brahmaloka. Here in some negative terms, the Rishi seems to be telling that not only you follow Tapa, Brahmacharya, Vidyaya, etc., but you are also to have any negative aspects. Previous, he says Satya. Here he talks about Anrutam. Anrutam is the negative aspect of falsehood. So if you think you are a sannyasi, but you are not, but you are showing to the other people that you are a realized master, then that becomes Anrutam. So he says, don't do that. If you do that, that Brahmaloka will not be yours. Yeah? And also no guile. Don't depend on guile for you to get things from others. As long as you are not doing it, for those people, that viraja is purity. Viraja is purity. When we talk, is called viraja. Viraja Brahmaloka means the pure Brahmaloka or Surya Brahmaloka belongs to such people. So as I mentioned, what is this truthfulness? One I mentioned is at Manasa Vacha Karma. No conflict can be taken as this. Second way, Gurudev says in this verse, when he says Anrutam, he says that it is about the imported meaning and the suggested meaning. Both should be one and the same. I hope so. Word means some things. Yeah, every word has got a meaning associated, but sometimes there is a suggested meaning as well apart from the imported meaning. This particular thing is very, very important. This particular concept is used in our Shastras for us to understand how a limited I can be the infinite I. When Brahman is defined, for example, he is talking about Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Satyam is Sat aspect, which is their existence. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Jnanam is the knowledge, the omniscient knowledge that a particular Brahman possesses becomes the knowledge associated. And infinite. So infinite knowledge, infinite in terms of existence, and infinite body, let me put it that way, is the Brahman, definition given. Do I fit any one of that? Do we think we fit any one of that? Obviously no. But it is also telling you the four Mahavakyas which are there. It is telling that Brahman and you are one and the same. So how is this particular thing is possible is by telling that the suggested imported thing about this same is one must understand. Is how this imported and suggested meanings become very important in terms of our understanding the Mahavakyas. This thing comes. So Anrutam in short is that whatever you say, you should not talk in such a way that other people can take it in a different way. Even the suggested meaning should be the same aspect, whatever you are telling. So don't put any guile, don't create any confusion in the people. And if you are doing that, then you will reach the Viraja Brahmaloka. The pure Brahmaloka is reserved for such people. With this, he stops the answer. And it appears that the person already understood what is being told. Means that Prana and Rai are the pair, complementary pair created by the Prajapati, and we have seen already. And that sun and moon is nothing but Dakshinayana and Uttarayana. Means there are two aspects or two paths one can follow. One of karma, of Ishtam and Purtam. One is Jnanamarga, the associated with Jnanamarga associated with the Tapas, Brahmacharya and all. And with this, you can go to either of them. How Prajas are born? If you are following Surya Marga or the Uttarayana, you will not come back. Such people will not come back. Others actually do take birth again and again. So in that way, he has answered. But basic answer is, really what you are thinking is the real birth of the people is not the real birth. It starts with Prajapatis creating the Prana and Rai aspects, which are interchanging. He talks about that again. So with that, it is closed, and we will go to verse 2, chapter 2. The second question will be asked by a different different student will ask the second question. Here, it is talked about, the second chapter is more about Hiranyagarbha Stuti. Hiranyagarbha is Prajapati, same. They are synonyms. So it is about the Stuti. Why it is important, the Stuti, when we talk about stotrams and all for the, if you have a Ishtadevata, if you are doing, you do Stuti associated with that. The idea about it is more in terms of building that rapport and reducing my individualness when we talk about. So Hiranyagarbha Stuti will be the second question in general. Okay. We will talk about, but normally these 5-6 questions which are there, we can also look at it from the perspective of koshas. So what we have covered is Annamaya Kosha, because we are talking about the physical body. And what Rishi has told, this Annamaya Kosha is really, don't think it is the real you. You is Vaishwanara and you is Prana, the aspect which is much beyond this. That is what it has been told. So we'll stop here, already 11:30. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.